This week, the Snuffed Out hellcamp in Fraternity staging remains in place. NC Dot continue to remove unwanted structures from Venal. A Ragnarok takes a forced vacation. An init logistics structure gets some attention in low sec. A Gallente versus Caldari militia brawl turns into chaos. A Titan in a POS gives a reason for a fight. The Cloud Ring submap gets an update. And Fraternity put their full focus on Nalvula in Pochven. Hello, I'm Frost, and this is your weekly EVE Online update. Welcome back. So it's another busy week in New Eden. I just want to start off by saying that I have read all of the comments from last week's video, but I didn't manage to get to respond to all of the ones that I wanted to. I will try and do so, but if not, then do be sure that I have read them and taken them all into account, especially the one that relates to maybe doing a video specifically on who's who in EVE and getting everybody up to date on the various coalitions and alliances with those coalitions and the relationships between them. So if you think that's a good idea, please do let me know. All right, so let's start with winners of the Scope Syndication skin. So last week was the Venture. I have a new skin this week, which I'll announce a little bit later on in the show. But my winners are, from the 25th of January, we have Salmon Muncher. And then from last week's episode, Prim has come forward. So congratulations to Prim and Salmon Muncher for their Venture skins. And I've still got one outstanding. This is your YouTube name. That is Sombu Ayatins. So you need to get in touch with me through my Discord, please, link in the description, and I can sort that out for you. All right, so before I jump up to my box as well, I need to make a correction. Smart bombs can be used in high sec. I didn't think they could be. I did say in last week's video that both Bornby and I struggle with high sec mechanics. Smart bombs is one of them. You can use them in high sec if you disable your safety, but obviously if you smart bomb anybody that is not an enemy, then you get immediately concorded. So use that at your own risk. Apparently some people are able to do it, so congratulations to them. All right, okay, up into my box. There we go, all comfy in the corner here. Make sure my pen is at the ready. I have lots of stuff to cover. Like I said, I'm going to start off in Fade. I'm going to go round as I usually do, and end up in Pochven, because obviously we had quite a lot of stuff happen in Pochven this week that I have to report on. So let's start off with Pureblind. So if we're going to Pureblind, the thing to point out straight away is that Toilet Paper have taken some more systems, Brave have taken some more systems from Toilet Paper. Now, it is my understanding, although I have not had this confirmed by leadership, that Toilet Paper, who are the ones in blue here, who own these systems still and did own these systems that were circled in blue, and actually handed these over to Brave, I think about 2 weeks ago. Toilet Paper looks like they're moving to low sec. Now, whether they actually remain within the Greater Trash community, I don't know. And I believe that these remaining systems will either go to Toilet Paper, to Brave Collective, or to Volta. So we'll have to see how that plays out. So if someone from Toilet Paper Leadership would like to get in touch with me and just confirm that, that would be absolutely great. I would really appreciate that. You can just DM me through my Discord. All right, so that's Pureblind. Then we're going to go over to Vale of the Silent. So Vale of the Silent, as you know from last week, over here, we had the whole Dread Bomb situation where Snuffed Out essentially killed 2 Titans just before downtime on Friday the 28th of January, and then they made 3 or 4 breakout attempts over the weekend, and I think on the Monday of last week where I had to do an edit for my video. Well, the situation that we've got now is this is a screen grab from about an hour ago. This is I'm filming this 1800 UTC on Monday the 7th. You can see all the bubbles are still in place, and the hellcamp is still going strong. Fraternity are very dedicated to replacing any bubbles that expire, and there was only 1 dread that logged in throughout the week. There have been no more breakout attempts. This 1 dread that died, it looks like it was probably a misclick on the login screen because it just logged in all on its own at random and obviously got killed. So there still remains 90 or so of these dreads. I think it's come up in conversation before how much of these dreads worth. Well, normally the usual fitting from Snuffed Out is normally about 5 to 6 billion ISK. Sometimes they use implants as well to boost up their damage and cap and all that kind of stuff. So who knows exactly, but it's still potentially, like I said last week, anywhere between 700 to 900 billion of ISK of dreads kind of still logged out. Now, as we'll see later on, Snuffed Out are still very active, just not in the dread bomb department. Right, so now we're going to go over to Venal. So in Venal, what we have is we have the ongoing situation where NC Dot and PanFam in general are trying to evict or remove all of the structures, should I say, because you can't evict from NPC nullsec, are trying to remove all of the structures of enemies that create problems for them with Black Ops drops, etc. Most notably, boss. So there's been some fights over some boss structures. There was the one in QHJ, which is kind of the main boss structure. There was one in 2IBE-N, and there was one in HG-JVQ, which I can't even remember where that is. Let me just look it up quickly. There we go. I'm afraid to say that I don't know every single system in every single region, so I'm not even seeing it come up. Did I type that? Oh, there it is, right in front of me. There we go, right there. So let's just go over some of these battle reports. I just got a couple of things to point out with these. So this was the QHJ-FW armor timer. Was it the hull timer? It was the armor timer for the Fortizar, and the Fortizar was actually saved. So pretty impressive job there by Boss. Also, what is notable is Brave Collective showed up to help, and We Form Blob, who are obviously Greater Trash Community, there along with We Form Volta. So they showed up, as well as kind of Rote Capel, who have always been kind of friendly with Brotherhood of Spaces in Venal. There are other groups as well, but those are kind of the main ones. Now, obviously on the NC Dot side, we've got PanFam. So we have NC Dot, Penamit Legion, and Slice Soliaris Stonium, who make up PanFam, along with Intrepid Crossing, who did an Alliance Spotlight video, which you need to check out. That was really interesting. That was released this week. And then we have Test Alliance was also showing up to support PanFam in this. Now, NC Dot have been anchoring Astra houses on grid with the Fortizars, so they can use Skynet. Skynet means that they basically put carriers on the structure and then send out your fighters to then attack. And Boss put up a good fight here with carriers of their own, as well as a Ferox fleet from Boss and from Brave. And they managed to hold off. And so this Fortizar lives for another day. I haven't checked recently to see if it's been in timer yet, but if it does, then obviously I will let you know. I also want to link this. This is a record of the fight from Brave Collective's point of view. It's linked in the description below. Sorry, for some reason that's a really poor resolution. I don't know why it's playing at 480p. Let's try that. There we go, that's better. So anyway, this video, you can watch it. It was over this fight for the fort, and it's from Brave's perspective. As always, linked in the description below. Okay, so I messed that one up, but we will move on. So 2IBE was the hull for the Fortizar. Boss decided not to contest it, as you can see, with just 8 pilots there, and it died, so that one's gone. Oh, right, now I remember what happened. In HGV, which is the system that I couldn't find, Boss actually attempted to drop an Astra House, and this created a fight purely between NC Dot and Boss. But what was interesting though, there was a good fight had by all, because Boss did really good here, considering 1.2 billion of that 4.37 billion was the Astra House. That was a pretty even trade between the Ravens and the Munins, Ravens of Boss and the Munins of NC Dot. So from what I understand from everything that's been going on in Venal, is that all sides involved are enjoying the fights that it's creating. So hopefully they will find more reasons to fight and enjoy themselves. Okay, now we have some news, which is quite some drastic news. I have a picture to take you. Once again, I took this a couple of hours before. This is the system of R10-GN, and what we're seeing is another bubble camp. Now, this bubble camp is for our favorite drive-by Titan pilot, A Ragnarok. So A Ragnarok tried to get another drive-by kill. He jumped into system just before downtime, and his Sino was spotted. And Pandemic Horde warped 3 heavy interdictors straight to the Sino. 2 were blocked because A Ragnarok had a Dictor ult, and he put up a bubble between the Keepstar, staging Keepstar, and his Xyno spot, but a third Dictor came in from a different direction, landed at 0 and got a bubble out. So then downtime hit, and a Ragnarok, in his Ragnarok, was forced to log out for downtime and did not log back in, because as soon as downtime ended, then Pandemic Horde showed up and started hellcamping the logout spot. Then a little bit later on, as you can see down here, Horde Vanguard then dropped a Fortizar on grid, and you can see these two little blobs down here. One is a PL, one was a PL1, and one was a Pandemic Horde one of Onyxes. So heavy interdictors just waiting to fly up there if necessary. So it looks like for the time being, a Ragnarok will be offline for the foreseeable future, for probably as long as Pandemic Horde decide to keep these bubbles up. So we'll have to see if they have the same determination that Snuffed Out do. Sorry, I'm missing up all my alliances this week. They have the same determination that Fraternity do towards Snuffed Out. Okay, right. I'll try not to fluff it up even more. So let's see where we go on from there. Right, next up, I've been wanting to mention this for about 2 or 3 weeks now, and I keep forgetting, so I've remembered now. Original Sinners, which is a group which is fairly infamous. If you remember, at the end of the Pappy War, the big deal was they moved from Northern Coalition, NC Dot, should I say, to Nullsec Nihil Lupin. Then obviously we had the whole moment when Snuffed Out managed to remove all the rights with a pilot moving into Snuffed Out, and all of the rights then disappearing, and so therefore they then created a senior moment. They then created a new alliance called Elysians, and then finally now they're in Pandemic Legion. So there you go. So that's people like Brother Bob and Pittsburgh, etc., etc. So names that are quite familiar for the nullsec people out there. And yeah, so their Original Sinners are now in Pandemic Legion, and we will see what stories they create there. Okay, next we're going to go over to Empire Space. So I want to go first of all to Lone Trek. So there's a couple of things here that I want to cover. The first one is actually to do with Snuffed Out. That in Lone Trek, in the system of Hakkinen, there was a Fortizar that was in Hull Timer this week. I think it was last Monday, just before I was filming, and I said it's going to come out in Hull. It wasn't contested, so the Fortizar repaired. Fraternity decided to not come and attack it. They decided so it was on Tuesday. Tuesday it's 1900 on the 1st of February. And they decided not to contest it. I think they decided to stay just in case anything happened with the bubble camp. But what I did talk about last week as well was the whole stuff going on in HiSec between Bjorn B with his alliance called 10.k and his desire to take over all of the POCOs in HiSec, of which a high percentage are owned by Omega and Media Labs. And Omega and Media Labs have basically got allies to help them. One of those allies is Wrecking Machine. Now, I incorrectly said that Wrecking Machine, I believe, were a mercenary alliance. That is not the case at all. They are not a mercenary alliance, but they are very good friends with Omega and Media Labs. And from the point of view of Wrecking Machine, they like the stability towards POCOs give to new players in HiSec, and so therefore they are more than happy to help Omega and Media Labs to protect those POCOs against Bjorn B. Bjorn B still has about another week and a bit before he can declare war again against Omega and Media Labs, having lost his HQ last week. And I believe Wrecking Machine are ramping up their productions to be able to provide SRP, etc., and to take this war onto the next stage. So once again, if you want to be involved in this war in HiSec, if you want to be on Bjorn B's side, then 10.k is the name of his corporation. If you want to help on the side of Omega and Media Labs and bring stability to HiSec, then Wrecking Machine and Black Flag are the two names that spring to mind right now. Or get in touch with Omega and Media Labs and see if they can point you in the right direction to other potential allies. Okay, so that's that. Then Sync Liaison. So Sync Liaison, I don't really talk about very much, but we had something pop up here, and it was actually in the system of Igniterton right there. And it's important because it's only, as you could see, 2 jumps from perimeter being 1 jump from Jita, so 3 jumps from Jita. And this system has an Astra House there that belongs to the Initiative, and it's part of their jump freighter route. So the jump freighters jump into Igniterton to get to jin'taan. And a fight broke out there. And what was interesting about this fight was that, as you can see, we got the Initiative Astra House here, was that Pandemic Horde came up to attack this and brought an Eagle fleet. But what we saw was the Initiative also got support from Snuffed Out and Capital Fusion being the group that includes A Ragnarok that left Pandemic Horde and now fly with Snuffed Out, although they're not officially part of Snuffed Out. As you can see, they always show up as a separate corp. But what we're able to see is that whilst the Dread from Snuffed Out are definitely locked out, there's still plenty of pilots available to bring an avatar and to bring plenty of super carriers and also a Macarial fleet. Macarials and legions being the two favorite doctrines of Snuffed Out. So as a consequence of this support, they were able to save the Astra House. Now apparently the super carriers arrived because it was believed that NC Dot were going to help Pandemic Horde by bringing dreads, and so therefore the counter to that would have been naturally to have either more dreads, which Snuffed Out can't do right now, or to have super carriers, which they clearly can. So there you go. So that's what happened there in Igniterton. Then I need to go over to Placid. So Placid being, I think, right next door. Placid, there you go, it's up there. So also a Gallente space. And talk about factional warfare. So I don't really talk much about factional warfare because they're normally more small scale stuff. But if I can find the right battle report, this fight happened in Ostingali in Placid. And it was over an Astra House that belonged to, let me get this the right way around, I think it belonged to the Caldari militia. I think that's right, yeah. So the Caldari militia owned the Astra House. I may have got that wrong. And I believe the Gallente militia were the ones that were, so the Caldari militia owned the Astra House and the Gallente militia were attacking it. So basically, this is the Gallente militia. This was the Caldari militia, and then I think we had some extra people here. And oops, I used the wrong color. I should use blue for that. And basically, these guys were attacking these guys. And then Snuffed Out showed up along with Capital Fusion over here on the left. Let me delete that. There we go. And got involved and started shooting everybody with the legions, which I mentioned earlier. So it was a pretty chaotic fight. Apparently, Shadow Cartel are actually showing up somewhere down this list. Let's see if I can find Shadow Cartel. Where were they? So Shadow Cartel, here we go. So they showed up in tornadoes. Apparently they were shooting everybody as well. But it turned into a really, really good fight with everybody attacking from all different angles with all kinds of different third parties involved as well. And so there you go. So factional warfare showing some good fights there. We're getting lots and lots of people involved. Then we're going to go and we're going to do the giveaway. So let's do the giveaway. I'm really delighted to announce that I have a new skin this month. It is much more of a specialist skin. It is for the Vargur. So here it is. It's looking absolutely beautiful on the Vargur. And it's obviously a Marauder skin. So you need to get those skill points going to make sure you can get yourself into a Marauder and into the Vargur specifically. The Vargurs and the Marauders generally are being used quite a lot at the moment since the recent update to them. We're seeing them all over the place, showing up on kill boards, etc. If you want a chance to get the Vargur skin, I think for this week we're going to use the word Titan. So we're going to go with the keyword of Titan, simply because we're going to be talking about not only A Ragnarok's Titan, but we're going to be talking about Darkshine's Titan later on as well, and how these are content generators. So Titan is your keyword. Make up a sentence in the YouTube comments below before the 11th, Friday the 11th of February at 1800 UTC, and I will do a random draw based on your toon name, and then announce in the YouTube comments on the Saturday or the Sunday that you've won, and then you need to get in touch with me through our Discord and I'll give you your skin. So there you go. So good luck with that, keyword Titan, and we can now continue with our news. All right, so once again, another correction. This time for Scalding Pass, I was talking last week about Bright Side of Death and how Triumvirate came in and took these systems. And I mistakenly said the Bright Side of Death are part of Fire Coalition. They're not part of Fire Coalition. They do seem to have an agreement, some kind of non-invasion pact with a Fire Coalition, but they are definitely not friends. Bright Side of Death have been known to batphone all kinds of people from Siberian Squad to the Initiative, even Gunsigs, but they're not as aligned to the Imperium in any way. They are Russian time zone players who like to do their own thing and kind of live out a curse and occasionally take some sov like they've done here in Scalding Pass. So there you go, so there's a quick little update there on Bright Side of Death. Okay, and then with regards to the universe map, most of the fights that have been happening in the south have been in Feythabolis. If we actually go straight to Feythabolis, the main things that I needed to cover was that during the week we saw Moonfire have quite a lot of their sov attacked. And when I did my Twitch show on Friday, a lot of these had been flipped or taken. It looks like Moonfire managed to take them back. I talked about Moonfire and the fact that they're not the biggest alliance, and they have one guy that does like some crazy multi-boxing, which I showed on my Twitch show last week. But the systems have been taken back, and this may be due to the fact that it looks like the Initiative are going to be pulling out of this deployment that they did to Esoteria and then into Feythabolis. Also, we got a random, system taken by a Pandemic Horde. If you remember last week, they took a system in Impasse. This time they decided to take, for the lulz, they took an iHub, an AZN-D2. I believe it was one of the iHubs that was burnt from Moonfire. Now, there were some fights. I do have a few. So up until a few days ago, the Initiative was still hitting jump gates, but I think they're not getting the fights they want. And it looks like, as I said, that they're going to be ending their deployment. So the first one was in, I think this one, 2-F30E. It was over an Astra House that I think belonged to Moonfire. Once again, we had Fire Coalition and Pandemic Horde defending it. And then we had Gunswarm and the Initiative and Chakaris and the rest of the Imperium like TNT, Bastion, Nvidia, Glory, Comes, etc. show up for the fight. Apparently it was good fights by all, and Fire Coalition made some mistakes on that one and ended up pretty badly on that, and the Astra House died as well. Then the kind of the big fight that we had that came out of nowhere was this one in JTAC PTA, and it actually came about because someone, I think from Fire Coalition, spotted a Titan that belongs to Dark Shine sitting in a POS. They then decided to bubble it completely and to try and camp it in the POS. This then created bat phones to happen, and the Initiative showed up, Gunswarm showed up, Red Alliance, Red Menace Coalition showed up, the Imperium as a whole. And then from the side of Fire Coalition, Test Alliance and Pandemic Horde showed up. And a big fight happened as a consequence of this, with 130 billion lost in the end to Fire Coalition and Pandemic Horde. So the Imperium have had a good little run as a closing run there in Feythabolis over these last couple of fights, especially with the fact I think these these faxes were destroyed. Kind of pushed up that kill mail quite substantially, or that battle report quite substantially. But whether the Titan was in any danger, that was a big subject discussion in my Discord. At the end of the day, I think there was like 24 hours potentially before the Titan was in any kind of danger. And then people mentioned Rooks and Kings and PL and how they basically changed the password in a POS to then launch the Titan out at 10 kilometers per second, so therefore you couldn't really bubble camp a POS. But either way, that was kind of irrelevant. What it was relevant was that a big fight happened and everyone seemed quite happy about that. All right, then talking of the Imperium are also very happy that they finally managed to catch the Nyx that belonged to Snuffed Out, a pilot that joined Snuffed Out I think a few months ago, has been killing dreads quite regularly in 1DQ1-A's, got about 5 different dreads. The Imperium finally caught him, primarily because they put their crab beacons on the grid. There's a very, very big grid because of the Keep Stars and the Stargate being in fairly close proximity. Creates kind of an elongated grid. They light the crab beacons there, and they're able to catch it. And they didn't mess about, because if you actually look at the battle report for that, if I scroll down, you will see after all the Serbs and everything. Here we go. So you can see there was 39 interdictors and 10 heavy interdictors. showed up for that. So this super carrier, this Nyx, was not going anywhere whatsoever. All right, so then let's go back to solve quickly. We're going to go over to Cloud Ring. So with Cloud Ring, we originally had Slow Children at Play, had this one constellation. During the week, they then expanded into getting this constellation as well. But what we see now this week is We Form Blob reinforced a lot of the systems. I could just keep circling them, but you get the general idea. We Form Blob have said no. They're basically Greater Trash Community. We Form Blob in specifically looks like they've decided to go, no, we don't approve of Slow Children at Play, and we are going to take all your stuff. And We Form Blob is kind of the new bro group of the Greater Trash Community, and it looks like they have the numbers and the willingness to do this. So we'll have to see if anybody comes to the aid of Slow Children at Play. Unlike Shadow Ultimatum, who seem to have negotiated themselves some quiet time and appear to be left alone by all the various coalitions in the surrounding areas. All right, so now we're going to finish off with Pochven. So what's been going on with Pochven? So last week in Pochven, Fraternity announced that they were going to once and for all get rid of the rote capel structures in Nalvula, which have been causing them issues. The main reason is it provides them a good staging point, most notably the ability to put jump clones in there without needing trig standings, which is what you need to put jump clones in the stations in Pochven, and also just give them greater flexibility. And so therefore, also the other thing as well is obviously they can use PDS to protect themselves from bubble camps, etc., whilst that can't be done in stations. So anyway, basically these fights broke out. They were in US time zone. Fraternity timed their attacks in such a way that it came over during the Chinese New Year holiday period, so they could get the pilots from the Chinese time zone to come in during this holiday season. Now, I have the first of the battle reports here, and as you can see, basically it's spread into Atella and Konola as well, as they bubbled the gates and tried to put smart bombing battleships and stuff like that on the gate to stop shuttles from coming in, reinforcing, etc. So the end result was one of the Fortizars was destroyed. They were successful in doing that. One of the other ones wasn't, and the timer went back a couple of days, I believe. But the main thing is that, as you can see, the numbers were pretty. I mean, Fraternity managed to bring 929 pilots from Chinese time zone and primarily from US time zone. This happened deep in US time zone. And on top of that, they also had help from Panamic Legion, Antest Alliance, and PanFam as well showed up. In this case, Northern Coalition, as we'll see later on, PL showed up for one of the other timers. And then on the defensive side, we had Rote Capel, Goonstorm Federation, Snuffed Out, and Brotherhood of Spaces making up the largest numbers there. But the main thing was that the technique used that allowed them to actually destroy these structures was actually using rocks. So the rocks have insane amount of range, and they're able to put these rocks at 275 kilometers out from the Fortizar, which put them out of range of the Horde Dreads. So as you can see, capitals were brought in by Rote Capel, etc., to protect the station, and also there were even some Titans on grid during the armor timer, but they couldn't reach out to these rocks. And in fact, I have a screenshot here of just the grid picture, and you can see how these rocks were spread out all around the structure being kind of like right in the middle here somewhere, which made it very difficult for a fleet to go around and pick them off or pin them down, because they were spread out all over the place, just sniping at this structure consistently. And eventually they was destroyed. Now, there was a second timer for the, let me see if I can find it, there we go, for the other structure, the other Fortizar. This time round, Rote Capel didn't get quite the same numbers, and the losses were still quite heavy. The main reason why this time Rote Capel struggled to save the structure is because it's in hull timer. If we actually scroll down, you can see that this time round they didn't have all of the Horde Dreads that they had last time to be able to snipe. So there was no capital support, because you don't put capitals on a hull timer if you can. because if the structure dies, then obviously you're untethered and you've got nowhere to go. So, as a consequence of that, both Fortizars are gone. One of the Astra houses has died. I think there's 1 or 2 Astra houses left now, which I would expect Fraternity will clean up, and I don't think they will be defended anywhere near as heavily as these 2 structures were. So it does look like that Nalvula is now finally almost fully in control of Fraternity. And they have achieved the objective they set out to do a week or 2 ago. But they have been at this for a good 2 or 3 months. It has to be said that Rokapel and friends did a very good job of being a very good thorn in the side to Fraternity and Winterco as a whole. Okay, I've also got a quick little video here just to show you, this is Pandemic Horde. They now have a Leshak Sig, and this video was posted to me. So if you want to check out Pandemic Horde and what they get up to in Leshaks, also in this case in Pochven fighting another Leshak fleet, I will link this in the description below and you can check it out for yourself. All right, then finally, let's go back to just my universe map. In terms of raw calls and ratting supers, 13 raw calls, so we're back into double figures for raw call deaths, so that's picking up a little bit. 5 ratting supers, but we did have some various supers die that were unusual. So obviously we had the super M1DQ1-A. We also had a hell here that died to another hell in Omist. And normally, as you know, as I say, nothing ever happens in Omist except the occasional Fire Coalition invasion. And it looks like these 2 just duked it out. There may have been tackle on grid, I don't know, but if so, it didn't show up on the kill board. And these, I don't know how this came about, but there we go. 2 hells went for it. And they don't look like ratting fits. Well, actually, no, 2 Seabos, so yeah, so potentially this is a ratting fit. So who knows what was going on between these 2 hells. If you know anything about this, I would like to know. Also, in terms of the raw call deaths, I need to point out this raw call. Dark Side have killed another raw call on the Pajola Gate. So this seems to be some kind of ongoing scam the Dark Side have, that they convinced new bros that they can use raw calls in high sec, sell them a raw call in a mailer station, and then tell them to warp to the Pajola Gate to jump into high sec. The raw call pilot then finds out they can't do that, and Dark Side destroy them. So there you go. So if you are a new bro and you're watching this, do not warp to a high sec gate in a raw call, and be very careful of anybody that makes you a good deal on a raw call. All right, and then the last thing to finish off with, Anger Games 5 has been announced. I will link their Discord in the description below. The event will be taking place towards the end of May and into June. But if you want to be involved in the Anger Games, so this is, once again, a tournament game. It's a 7v7, I think, for the Anger Games. Yeah, 7v7, 32 team, double elimination PvP tournament. Sign up started a couple of days ago on the 5th of February, but run until the 19th of February. So if you want to get involved with this, jump onto their Discord and take it from there. All right, okay, I think that's everything from me for this week. 3 months to FanFest. If you're going to be at FanFest, I will see you there. As always, thank you for watching. I'll see you on my Twitch show, hopefully on Friday at 2000 UTC. If not, I'll see you here again next week. And don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications, and I will see you on the next one. That's all from me. Bye.